All right, so you ready to dive into this whole weightlifting thing? We're looking at whether it's actually good, safe and beneficial for teenagers.
Yeah, it's a question we get a lot.
For sure. And we're checking out this Physio Hub article, Heavy Lifting for Teens, Separating Growth Myths from Facts. I mean, we've all heard it, right? Lifting weights stunts your growth.
Oh, absolutely. That's like the classic warning.
Right. So is there any truth to that?
Well, that's what's so interesting. This article jumps right into it. And spoiler alert, it's a myth. They're pretty clear that weightlifting, when it's done right, with the right technique, good supervision, it's not harmful.
Okay, so not true, but then what are the actual effects?
That's the cool part. It actually makes their bones stronger.
Wait, so the opposite of what everyone's worried about.
Exactly. And we're not just talking about, anecdotal evidence. Research backs this up. Pierce in 2022, Faigenbaum back in 2008, they found super low injury rates in teen weightlifting programs as long as they were well managed.
Okay, so it's more about doing it right than just avoiding it altogether.
That's the takeaway. It's like you wouldn't just throw a kid the car keys without teaching them to drive.
Yeah.
Right, you got to learn how to do it safely.
Makes sense. So safe weightlifting, what's in it for the teens? What are the benefits?
Well, obviously we've got the stronger bones thing, but it goes even further than that. Reduced risk of injuries, and not just in the weight room. We're talking about sports, everyday activities, all of that. And get this, it can actually improve their self-esteem.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking about more than just physical stuff here.
Exactly. It's about their overall well-being.
This bone growth thing, it's really interesting to me. The article talked about Lima and French. They did studies showing this connection between lifting and bone mass, especially for teenagers. How does that even work?
So basically, when you lift weights, it's like sending a signal to your bones. Hey, we need to be stronger here. And your body responds by actually increasing bone density. There's this thing called serum osteocalcin.
Serum say that again?
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Basically, it's like a messenger. It tells your bones, all right, time to build. We need more bone here. So the weight training triggers this whole process.
So it's like the body's literally building itself up stronger because of the weightlifting. That's pretty wild.
It's like an investment, right? You put in the work now, get those benefits for years to come.
Totally. So starting young, good idea. Now, this article mentions something called Tanner stages. I got to be honest, I'm not totally sure what that means.
Well, yeah, the Tanner stages, that's where things get really interesting. It's not just about how old the teen is, but also about their, biological maturity, emotional maturity. The Tanner stages, they help us figure out if someone's actually ready for weightlifting.
So it's not as simple as you turn 16, time to hit the gym.
Nope, not that simple.
Yeah.
We're talking about meeting them where they're at developmentally. And the Tanner stages, they use these physical changes, breast development in girls or pubic hair, which happens in both, as kind of a gauge. It tells us about hormonal changes, overall development.
So it's like your body giving you clues about whether you're ready or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's all connected. Those physical changes, they tell us about what's happening with hormones, and that's super important when you're talking about safe and effective weightlifting. But it's not just the physical stuff either, right? It's also about emotional maturity. Can they handle it? Can they follow instructions? Take the safety stuff seriously, be disciplined about training.
Yeah, you want to make sure they're ready for that responsibility.
For sure. Speaking of which, this whole thing about responsibility and readiness, it makes me think of this study, Byrd, I think it was. They followed these young weightlifters for years.
Oh yeah, what did they find out?
So these kids, they weren't just lifting for their health, they were competing and seriously excelling. Some of them even made it to national, international levels.
Wow, even the Olympics. That's amazing. See, it's more than just being healthy. This could be a path to some serious athletic achievement.
Absolutely. It really highlights this idea of, long-term athlete development, LTAD. It's all about working with the kids' development, age-appropriate training, gradually leveling them up so they can succeed long-term.
So it's not about pushing them too hard too fast, it's about building that foundation.
Exactly. Playing the long game, right. And that actually connects to another thing this article really emphasized, individual assessments. You can't just have a one-size-fits-all approach.
So even if you've got two 15-year-olds, same Tanner stage, they might need totally different weightlifting plans.
Exactly. Everyone's different. Different bodies, different levels of maturity. even different reasons for wanting to lift weights. Some are all about sports, some just want to be healthy, others it's more about confidence, feeling good about themselves. It's about figuring out what works for each individual.
So you really got to know what you're doing. And I'm guessing not just any gym, not just any trainer is going to be the right fit for a teenager.
Right. You're so right. This article, they were big on qualified supervision. Ideally, you'd want like a certified trainer, maybe a physical therapist, someone with experience specifically with young athletes, you know? They're going to know how to work with a body that's still growing and changing.
So it's a different skill set than just like training adults who are already done growing.
Exactly. They know how to spot those little things, you know, make sure their form is good, start them at a weight that's challenging but not dangerous, know how to increase it safely.
Yeah, because I bet some teenagers, they probably want to go straight for the heavy stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. But it's about building those good habits early on. Technique first, then you can worry about lifting more and more weight. It's like, think about building a house. You don't start with the roof, right? Got to build that strong foundation first.
I like that. Okay, so big picture. Weightlifting for teens, not some big scary thing, but you got to be smart about it. You need the right info, the right guidance, and it's about the long game, not just instant results.
You got it. And I think the biggest shift is just like moving away from that fear. Because honestly, weightlifting, when it's done right, it's powerful. It can help these kids thrive in so many ways.
Love that. Moving away from fear and more towards like, what if this helps them reach their full potential?
Yeah, right. And that's something to think about. Like, instead of being scared of weightlifting, how can we use it as a tool for growth, for health, for their mental game, everything?
That's a good question to leave everyone with. This has been awesome. I've learned so much. Thanks for breaking it down with me.
Anytime. Glad we could dive into it.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on another deep dive. We'll be back soon with more. So until then, keep exploring.